access, your memo and arts, paying your fees, and then getting the certificate of incorporation. Once you get that certificate of incorporation, then you are a separate legal entity. You're ready to do business. So that LLC is what you would normally see behind most American companies. That's just means limited liability. It's like an IBC. It's a flexible tool.
But they are incorporated.
Mhm.
So they just choose to put LLC.
They put LLC.
Oh,
Yeah.
no.
No, LLC just means it is a company.
Mhm.
So they'll put Joe Smith, comma, LLC. Both sides, comma, LLC. And you know it's a limited liability company. Owned by one person, two persons, three persons. And in some instances in the US, then they'll have a trust at the top. And the trust is where they put all of their assets, but it's not the same as a trust that's incorporated here. It's a business trust.
So only like a foundation.
No, foundation is different. Foundation is a different product. We'll come to that one later. No. So in the US, a trust is a business trust to reduce your taxes. Versus a trust here is for preservation of wealth. So it's a little bit different. All right, so Melissa, you had Polypack. Let me let you do Polypack and then Lavette will do Pressed. Why you look so sad?
I do.
She always just looks sad, like on the third class, she can go, I have a question.
I have a question.
Okay, let her do Polypack first.
I'm just listening.
Okay, so for me, Polypack, I had to do a lot of reading because I didn't find, so like in class, when we found something on a law website, I didn't find that, so I had to do like a lot of reading from different articles.
Yeah.
So, the source I got majority of it from was BBC.com.
Mhm.
So Polypack basically was a guy. He started a business. Well, Polypack was the name of the business. And he started as a textile company that was owned by Fasil Nazar. It was a small British company that gained success quickly and grew rapidly in the 1980s. Because of the success of Polypack, they earned themselves a spot on the FTSE 100. Didn't know what that meant, so I had to do a lot of research on a lot of different terms. So FTSE is Financial Times Stock Exchange. So that basically was where the top 100 largest companies listed in the main market in London Stock Exchange. So any business that was very lucrative at the time would have made it to this list of 100 top largest companies that basically made a lot of profit, made a lot of money. So it kind of gave the meaning that the company was stable and it was good to invest into this particular company. So because of the success of Polypack,
So hold on, stop right there.
Mhm.
So you just explained about the UK stock exchange. That's
Mhm.
equivalent to what here? Locally? Not you.
Sounds right.
I want her to tell you. No, don't tell her. You don't know?
Stock exchange over here.
Yes.
The only thing I can remember of stock exchange or anything over here is central bank.
No,
No,
no.
sorry, that's foreigns. I don't know.
Tell her.
That's next.
Business,
Oh,
but what it is, Bahamas, what, I don't know what the I stand for.
BISS. Okay, I
Yes.
remember.
Okay, all right.
What is it?
BISX. BISX.
I've never heard of it. I haven't. I only care for some stocks like that.
I just
I
about to
know what
ask
it
her.
is,
I was
like,
just
ah,
about to ask her if she
a
was
badger,
interested.
like, I have yet to write.
When was it? It was last year when the public was invited to invest in downtown Harbor.
That, well, that's how I know, because
Yes.
I bought shares in the port, our port, but that's only reason. And it-
I remember that.
You remember that?
So what is this?
This is the stock exchange.
That company is?
It's Cable Bahamas. There's what the beer company name again?
Commonwealth Brewery.
Commonwealth Brewery, Finco, Commonwealth Bank, they're all on the stock exchange.
But usually like on the news, when they talk about, what the rates are for the day and all that kind of stuff. they
Mhm.
talk about-
Yeah, the price per share.
We probably should talk about it a little bit more.
Well, now you'll
Yeah.
check and you'll see
I'll
it.
probably
And it's in the
pay
papers.
attention a little bit.
Yeah.
And that's where I saw it before, but like, you mean that's actually skim over.
No,
This is how recently we have to learn so we can become the hops, really.
Yeah.
exactly.
That's the business section, you're supposed to be zoning in on.
Right?
You have to,
I would read that
it,
section, but like when
no.
it comes to stock exchange, I'm like, it's a little bit confusing. So when you don't understand what you read, you just skip over it.
No, don't do that. That's the whole, okay. Just looking at the structure and how she explained the business.
Mhm.
So let's just say, or what's that company called? I can't remember. There is a company here, it was 2 weeks ago in the paper. He said that his, what do you call it, Triple D, Multonic?
Oh, yeah, I went to the States.
Yes,
Yes.
he now has a contract for
In
all
Walmart.
Walmart in the United
Yeah.
States.
Yeah.
So if you have $5,000 or $10,000, you would invest in his company because the shares are going to soar.
Right.
Especially if you like it.
Mhm. So that is why you read the paper to see what is happening. And then you could forecast for yourself whether or not it is worth the investment. That's the beauty of it.
I'll look into it.
But then you would buy into it through CFA and Fidelity, right?
Mhm. All right, continue with Polly Bear.
Because of the success of Polypack, they earned themselves a spot on the FTSE 100. The company made £2 million a year and later made £2 billion a year after expanding from textile to electronics, leisure complexes, and acquiring a global fruit brand, Del Monte. So they were trading across Europe. And they had over 200 subsidiaries worldwide. During the expansion, the name was converted into Polypack International. Hundreds of thousands of investors, thousands invested in stocks as it was recognized as a reputable, stable, and profitable company, having made the FTSE 100 by 1990. It was said that some investors saw returns more than 100 times their original stake, but very few got out of it before the downfall of PPI. So PPI is Polypack International. In 1990, the SFO, which means Serious Fraud Office, raided one of Ansel Nadir's management companies in Mayfair. The claim was for insider dealing. The claim was later dropped, and they pursued the charges because they believed that Nadir stole millions of pounds from his own company, PPI, which belonged to the shareholders. The next day, PPI's share price plummeted. Still, Nadir was accused of stealing approximately 150 million pounds by way of transfer using close family, friends, and his subsidiary businesses. SFO, Serious Fraud Office, followed the money trail during their investigation, which revealed a complex transfer history. Still accepted in court that the transfers were authorized by himself, but he pleaded not guilty to theft. He disputed the claims and said all funds were deposited to other businesses' accounts from his subsidiary businesses. So he was trying to say that it would have been sent over to Kiana Bank in in Turkey, Northern Cyprus. So we're gonna learn a lot about that. So this is a juicy story. This is like lifetime. Sil Nader was heavily involved in the operation of his business. So he was a high level controller over the finances of the business. He was able to authorize transfers without a counter signature. And I assume that's like when you use and or, like when you create an account, let's just say a personal account and you sign, the signatures would be and or. So and meaning that both parties have to be present in order to withdraw or do any transactions on the account. Correct? Okay. So I know like when you have a business account, you don't usually distribute a debit card because on that company account, that means that not just one particular person can come in and do transactions. So you need like a signed letter of authorization from the different directors or whoever it is that you say supposed to be enacting on behalf of the business for that application, that account application. So he didn't have any authorizations from another director. So Ansel was the chairman and chief executive of Polypack International. So for me, that's like a few red flags right there on its own, but nobody really questioned him because he was the big dog. The prosecutors claimed that the $150 million were used to fund Ansel's personal expenses, debts, family, close associates, pet projects, purchasing of shares from his own company. Some of the funds were suspected to be used to purchase multi-million-dollar homes, racehorses, antiques, a newspaper group, and property.
Sounds
All of
familiar.
all of which were placed in company names, trusts, and family. Legal documents were removed from his home in which he requested to be returned. His trial began in 1993, and the prosecutors believed that they had enough as well as a lot of damning evidence on Ansel Nader. At this point, I thought it was a lawyer. He continued to claim his innocence and said for every withdrawal transfer, there was a deposit at the Northern Cyprus end. He soon felt he would not face a fair trial and fled the country to Turkey, controls Northern Cyprus, where he was originally from. He had a pilot friend that helped him leave the UK undetected. He had a scheme plan for his escape. So he was not just a business savvy person and was able to make a lot of money, but he was also an actress. He left a male dressed like him that stood at the window of his home as he escaped with a wig and a mustache.
Yes.
He chose Northern Cyprus, where he was originally from, because it was not a recognized state and they didn't have a treaty with the UK to be extradited. So he would not be extradited, he would be protected. He was also a business owner that controls the businesses in Northern Cyprus. And he also owned a bank in Northern Cyprus. He had the backing of the Prime Minister, who wrote a letter to the courts in the UK to give Ansel Nader a fair trial. So guess what this man did? He was ghetto. He just was real ghetto. He was just full of himself. So after 17 years in 2010, Ansel returned to London to face trial. He wanted to clear his name. As his actions, he displayed caused serious reputational damages. So he was hurt. And he was sick, and he just felt like they just do him dirty. They just mess up his whole name. They caused the downfall of his business. They was just treating him like trash. And he was the big dog, and they just shouldn't have done this to him. They shouldn't have exposed him. So he came back to clear his name to London. PPI was put into administration with debts of £550 million in 1990. So administration, just for anybody that didn't know this, when they put you in administration, that just means that the court appoints insolvency practitioner to operate or control the business, because you nor anyone who was a part of the company would be able to operate. So as they gain money, it would be to pay down the debt that the company had. Until Nadir denied the company had been insolvent. Another word I didn't know, insolvent just means that it was in debt. He also claimed he had no assets in his name and was broke, as there were a few people trying to retrieve monies to assist with the trial.
All these words sound familiar.
Monies to assist with the trial and bond. So he did not provide supporting docs to his claim. So the court said that, okay, if you are broke, you are bankrupt, provide this information, let us know, give us something, give us some documents to say that you have no assets and nothing in your name. He didn't provide those documents. So he claimed that he was living in Northern Cyprus. He was not working at the time. He was just living off the land. It's really exaggerated. And he had a sister that said the same thing. He did not work. He didn't have any assets. He had nothing. And he had family and friends that gave him money to assist him in the trial. And so after the trial was over, they were trying to get them, some people were trying to get their monies back. I think one of the persons was the pilot, or no, it wasn't a pilot, it was another friend, and he was trying to get 250,000 pounds back from him that was placed for bond. And then the talk was also for compensation for the shareholders as well as the administrators for the company, what the court provided to run the company. So he didn't provide any docs to his claim, and so the claim was dismissed. The SFO, Serious Fraud Office, did not find any assets. 2 years after the PPI share price collapsed, Ansel Nadir was declared bankrupt. His trial lasted 7 months and sentenced to 10 years in jail. He will be eligible for parole after 5 years. So this little piece I got from the Guardian, because I was little, I was trying to familiar what happened afterwards. So Ansel was ordered to pay back $5 million or pay 6 more years in jail. After he was found guilty of stealing $28.8 million from BPI, his own company, and from shareholders. He was also ordered to pay £60 million to administrators as compensation. That's my story on.
That's why he's like, I had to buy 16 years in jail. That's why I don't care.
Right, and so like a lot of things for me was like, okay, 10 years after doing all of that, that was like $150 million, and then you only was found guilty for 20.8 million.
Mhm.
And then you eligible for parole after 5, and then you done run for 17 years.
Mhm.
So it was like white collar crime was a serious thing.
Mhm.
Now I see why I'm going.
I feel like it was all planned out.
He studied this. His parents studied public health, and he said, "Nah, we need to be too bad."
Or Bernie Madoff.
And he's very young.
Oh,
Yeah.
another thing was that they were trying to go after funds that were donated. So the PPI donated to
Silly diet.
PPI donated to different organizations, and the courts was trying to go back for the funds that was donated 20 years and 22 years later after. And they were like, no, because we don't know if the money was fraudulent money that we received.
Mhm, mhm.
So that was a
What the second prophet said,
Right.
money gone.
Exactly. And it was like baffling, like, how would he fraud his own company? And then
What you mean now?
No checks.
another thing, no checks and balances was in place. He was basically running the whole thing.
Sound familiar?
And
Yeah, he's buying shares in the other
right, and
company.
then buy shares in his own company. In his own company, he stole the money to buy shares in his own company so that he could boost up the price.
Yes.
And then, to me, another one set of what you was talking about in the last class, when you said parent company and shares from the subsidiaries. So PPI was the parent company, and then he had 200 subsidiaries all over the world, and so it boosted PPI shares because everything that they had basically,
Mhm.
yeah. So that much stuff
Real
tied
estate.
together.
It came together. Mhm. And I came back to the same two things I told you was on Thursday, when you talk about company. It's two key things.
Corporate
Corporate
finance and
governance
all
and corporate finance. Well, they definitely not no government.
And this is what the present company
Yeah,
is this.
yeah. Absolutely, yeah.
So if you sit at the top here and you have all of these companies, you can't run all. So even though you appointed, who's making the decisions? This one.
You gotta get them back.
Making all the decisions.
So in this instance, that was unsealed, a seal.
Making all the decisions.
I mean, he was really making all the decisions, but he
Yeah.
even signing singly.
Same thing here. Same thing here. Signing, sending wire instructions.
So that.
And each one in a different jurisdiction. And so when they get up at 2 AM, this one is at 6 AM. So you transfer some money from here to here. And when this one wakes up, you transfer the money from here to here. And when this one wake up, you send it from here to here and you keep doing it.
And then you buy. you know,
So, right, and so at the end of the day, all of these are operating well, but it's just the same money moving round and around and around. And you're not involving any other employees in these movements.
No, you have your trusted few.
You're trusted few.
Because it was a secretary that tore up some, the assistant that tore up some, wiring, receipts and stuff when the police came and they must have been like little tiny pieces. And somebody, the secretary or somebody put in an envelope and gave it to the police. And they was like,
Mhm.
well, you know, why did you tear these stuff off? And it was like, it wasn't important, it wasn't really important information.
Yeah, because you don't know what it is.
Like, that's what they say.
Yeah, you don't know.
But the police put it all together, somehow put all of the receipts and stuff together, and then they had to.
It's like a puzzle.
So,
Wow.
But you're just moving things around. And so the people that are working in these companies, two things. One, it would appear they didn't know. But if you're sitting in a particular role, you should find out. Because if your job is CFO, you should know when I left yesterday, there was $5. When I come back today, I have 25. Where did it come from?
We're gone already.
And then where did it go?
And supporting documentation, but it's inflows and outflows.
So I guess this is why KYC has become increasingly important because you want to use to control the person of all these entities.
And the controlling mind was here.
Which also makes it easy when things go bad, that when you realize that one or two people have major control over all these entities, it's easy to put it back to them. Now you just have to prove that what they were doing was.
But where was this person?
Nobody, because everyone was confident, everyone was on the payroll.
Everybody. No,
Compensated.
they were compensated.
He had nothing in his name, so when he purchased stuff, he put it in his family members' names,
Mhm.
his
Because he's
cousin
buying
names.
loyalties. That's
Yes.
what he's buying loyalty.
Why would you put it in your own name? Because you want to take it outside of this. What you don't realize is the
It could
thing
still be
is,
traced
where
back.
does it, yes, where did the money come from? So he was, again, taking money from these and buying property. And that money was not his money.
I suppose that's why they talk about donations, because you could donate or gift something to somebody, and then when you realize the true purpose of it, you could go back, like you could gift a house to somebody, and then when you realize that I'm using this house, I gift a house to somebody who live in the Bahamas, for example, because it's pretty, and they might live there, but it have 20 rooms in it, so when I want to travel, like, entertain people like also, so it's not that it was a gift.
Yeah. But he controlled all of this. And by him controlling and moving money, he inflated and stabilized price. So he gave the whole public, the market, an inflated figure. And then at the same time, he was using the money for his personal gain. The red flag always comes when one man makes all the decisions. And the people who were here knew. They knew. Because I've heard people say, oh, well, he created it. So he has all the ideas. So we wait for him to give us the ideas. And it don't work that way. It has to be a separation for this to work. And it has to be a separation for this to work. Otherwise, how was he running this? He wasn't running this as a company. He was running it
So proprietorship.
as a sole proprietorship. But all the money was not his. You only could run it like that when all the money is yours. And that's why he's in trouble. So if you didn't read Polly Peck, read Polly Peck.
Read the papers now.
Or read the papers now. Okay, Lavette, you'll go before we do chapter 2.
Okay.
You on the board?
No,
No, you don't?
I can be short.
What? That's the most important case.
This one was interesting though. But when I didn't read all of it. I read the summary and I watched
No,
the
you're
videos.
supposed to read all.
So it was 40 minutes. And I just printed it, yeah. Okay, so we have a case between a husband and a wife. Good, thank you.
Didn't he have a structure?
Yes, he had a
Okay,
structure.
give them the structure.
Okay, so the husband and wife, their name, oh Lord, excuse my writing. Okay, the last name was Prest, and the wife was Yasmin. And the husband was Michael. And too bad.
No, go, you can just put Y and M.
Okay. Okay, so they got a divorce. We're getting a divorce. Oh, Lord. I don't think I could do it. Okay.
I was actually, I'm gonna put some boxes.
So now Michael owned 3 companies. He was the owner of this main one here, which is the case of Petrodel. Priest versus Petrodel is also noted, right? Okay, so out of this company, it was 3 main companies.
Draw the boxes.
Yeah, because she knows all them.
And that's all I can say.
Why are they so close?
Because it's three.
Oh, they're separate.
Okay, I can just draw the little boxes. What's this?
Like that.
Oh,
Here's where you put the percentages.
Learn how to make all charts and all.
Like that.
oh, okay, this is powerful. Okay, right. So he had three companies,
Go ahead.
and of the three, one of them had 7 properties.
Mhm.
So you can say this one had 7 properties. That says X, Y, Z.
And let's put a line below one, and let's put 7 rows.
Okay, so X had 7 properties. So now the wife knew he had these 3 companies, but she didn't know one of them. No, she knew, no, the wife knew he had these 3 companies. But she didn't know that one of them had 7 properties listed within it. And of the company, I think it was worth 38 million pounds.
You don't worry about the money,
Okay.
worry about the structure.
Okay. Okay. So of these 7, 3 of them were in his name.
Mhm.
And I think the four was in the company. So 3 in his name. 4 in the company. Okay. So Ms. Yasmin, and she found out, okay, well, you're going through this divorce and you have these 3 companies. Although he controlled them and managed them, he still was not, what to say, lifting up the veil. So because of that and the divorce, because he's a shareholder,
Mhm.
he doesn't own it. It is companies, but legally they're not his. That makes sense?
Mhm.
That makes sense?
Yes.
It's legally owned by the
By the
By
company.
the company and not him.
Right.
So she got smart and she realized that by divorce, she is entitled to the properties. So she sued him, well, not sued, she took him to court to appeal this. So basically, the courts allowed let me just get straight to it. The court basically allowed, not basically, they rewarded, she won. She got the 17 million for the properties, but not the company. Because each one of these companies, I think, were all oil trading companies. And I remember reading in it too that he was UK mixed with Nigeria. So because of that, some of the companies weren't incorporated under the UK. So that is why too, she was able to get hold of the companies.
So she was able to get hold of the companies that, the 3 that he was shareholder on, or all of 7?
No, only the
Okay.
one,
Okay,
yeah.
okay.
So the court awarded her based on what it was valued, it was 17.5 million pounds. She got that, and he still was able to keep his 38.5 million pounds.
Okay, so did the court pierce the corporate veil?
No, but they lifted it
Mhm.
because that's how they separated him, saying that, okay, yes, this is his companies, but he acted more so as a shareholder than the the owner.
Mhm. Yeah,
So-
he was the shareholder.
So in that case, they weren't his because it was under, his name was under the company.
Mhm. So what principle did they use in order to give her those properties? Let's go.
I don't remember.
You have the paper in your hand?
Okay, let me.
Did he have control of the company still?
Mhm.
Yeah, he
Control?
did.
Yeah, he did.
But he was running the company is,
Yeah.
he was also shareholder.
But that's what cost him.
So how he had 3 properties that was in his name and not the company name?
No, it was in the company name, but not his name. And underneath this one, it was the 7 under him. So that's why she was able to get that.
You sure?
She, Ms. Archer, she was able to get the full properties or just a portion of, the properties too?
No, she didn't get all of them.
No, she got
Okay. Okay.
But what did the court use?
And I saw someone with the corporate deal.
The court used trust. law.
Yes, because he, under it, under these, he put it in a trust. I just remember that, because there was
Mhm.
a couple of things, in this case, it was the dispute with the divorce. Then there was something to do with the children, the family per se, and then the trust. So under these 3 companies, it was in the trust. And then this one here by itself had these properties.
Remember when I told you all to read this? Because in this case, they speak about piercing or lifting the corporate veil.
And they say Solomon versus Solomon.
Solomon versus Solomon, Wolfson, Adam versus Kate, Jones versus Lippman. All of those are mentioned in here. But the court in this case decided that they were not going to pierce the corporate veil. They used trust principles instead.
That the companies were holding everything in trust for him,
Mhm.
which then made it accessible by everybody who's. in
Because
financial
there was
trouble.
a trust structure within
And then
this.
it said too by divorce that, she, when is, you're not protected. So that's why she was able to get access to that. Because they got divorced and through the trust.
And then this will be a really good case if this, something like this is tried here in the Bahamas.
I don't really understand it. How come it- Because y'all saying because it was in a trust, the beneficiaries was able to.
She wasn't a beneficiary.
No.
She was his wife.
But it was actually a formal trust, or was just like the corporate structure took,
The corporate,
form
the
of a
corporate
trust.
structure.
okay, so it wasn't an actual trust of beneficiaries, it just seemed as though it was.
So it was a trust company, what they call a trust company.
So it said, he says, it follows from the above analysis that the only basis on which the companies can be ordered to convey the 7 disputed properties to the wife is that they belong beneficially to the husband. And they do.
Ms. Archer, does that apply to, the Bahamas law as well? So let's say you have husband and wife, the husband has some businesses. And he has all them as, let's say, a limited LTD company, right?
Mhm.
Would the wife have access to his possessions if his assets, if they were to divorce in a limited company here?
There have been instances where the spouse has sued because there was a company and they felt that they should get proceeds, but you're gonna have to prove that you contributed towards that company,
So then,
Okay.
even in terms of service.
okay. So you'd have to prove stuff like that. Because even as he may have built this company and he's registered as.
But I did the marketing for the
Or
company, or
it was
I,
our collective funds that gave the
and
capital.
we're the ones who came together and we decided that we were gonna go into this business or expand this business. And I helped him for 7 years doing that.
Mhm.
You have to prove that.
Oh, yeah, and they said that he he had all of these before the marriage.
Mm.
So it wasn't like
That's
them
why I told you
two
all to
had these
read it.
companies that they built that together. He had these before he married her.
So you need to read it,
I will.
and then we could
Better.
discuss it again on the next class, but everybody needs to read it.
But it was interesting. I still didn't feel it was that she should have got the cheaper. But I mean, to some extent, because then they
See,
still going
when
through.
different laws overlap,
Yeah.
then you have to be careful. Because you move then from company law to matrimonial causes act.
And they were saying that
So
she
it's
still.
a
got
union
some-
of one.
Mhm.
This is a different concept. Mhm.
She was still getting money, they said, for the children and things like that. too.
That's separate.
The 730,000 pounds or something like that she was getting. So he may go good.
And that's why you see people like that normally would have a prenup
Yeah.
to avoid all of that.
Especially if they had stuff before the marriage.
Yes, then you have a prenup. If you get it during marriage, then it's difficult to argue. But if you
Right.
had this before,
Mhm.
then you get a prenup.
Must be really trustable.
What if you existing business owner, like in his case, get married to her and then you give her the equivalent of 1% of shares in your company? When it's a divorce, you could just buy her out the equivalent of,
But that depends if buying her out is in the shareholder agreement.
okay.
And most people, when it's husband or wife or just two persons as best friends and they incorporate a company, they don't prepare a shareholders agreement. Which is not good on their side, because when there is a dispute, then you have a problem. Because people always follow this, just human nature,
Things always change.
and that's why you should have a shareholders agreement. Okay, so let's go to unit 2, and unit 2 speaks about different types of companies. So read it again. You ready?
I am. Yes.
She was reading it all this time, y'all talking. I was watching her. That's why I said she's so quiet, because I said she's reading. Go ahead.
Okay, so I did Guilford Motor Company Limited versus Horn. Mr. Horn was the MD of the Guilford Motor Co. Limited, and his employment contract stipulated not to solicit customers of the company if he left the company. Mr. Horn was eventually fired, so he opened his own company where he undercut Guilford Motor Co.'s prices. Mr. Horn set up a company, J.M. Horn and Co. Limited,
No, she reading her case.
where his wife and friend, Mr. Howard, was sole shareholders and directors. He did this after he got legal advice saying he may have been acting in breach of the contract he initially had with his previous employment, which was Guilford Motor Co. Limited. So Mr. Horn sent out flyers saying that his new company had no connection with any other firms. His company did not have any agreement with Guilford Motor, his initial employment, after not competing, about not competing. So Guilford Motor brought an action against him. They alleged that Horn's company was used as an instrument of fraud to conceal Mr. Horn's alleged actions and an attempt to evade his legal obligation of not soliciting customers. So in the judgment in the High Court, Farwell J. held that the covenants that Mr. Horn would not compete was broken, but because the covenant was too wide and against public policy or restraint of trade, he refused to enforce it. Therefore, Guilford Motor appealed the case. So then the Court of Appeal granted an injunction so that Horn was forced to stop competing through the company. So an injunction is,
Mhm.
it's a court order restraining a person from an action that threatens the legal right of another. So in conclusion, I think that the lifting or piercing of the corporate veil was not, it was not done, right?
Mhm.
They just used this injunction to solve it. Because technically, he did not, he did not, I mean, I guess they can prove that he actually breached this lifting, piercing, the corporate veil, concept because he wasn't the shareholder. I mean, he signed it over to his wife and best friend.
Mhm.
So the only thing they could have done was grant the injunction to kind of
Stop
make
him.
him stop.
Mhm.
Okay.
So for next class, before we begin Unit 3, you all should have read Pest versus Petrodel for discussion. And prior to Thursday class, you can email me your draft.
Sorry, say that again. This year?
Mhm.
Okay.
That is a final exam question. It'll be worded similar to that.
So this based on the press, perspective of this.
It's based on Unit 1,
Oh,
the whole thing.
And what is it to email you, please?
Oh. I thought you had my email. Didn't you? Yes, my email is
No,
on
no,
the
no,
Zoom
I'm
link.
asking you what to email you.
This, the homework
Yes,
on the
yes.
board. It says discuss the benefits and
Mhm.
problems with the Solomon Principle.
Okay.
And it's press versus what?
So when we talk about companies, there are different types of companies. You have private companies and you have public companies. So public companies are like the ones on the 6, where the public are invited to invest. Then you have private companies that are owned either by one person or more than one person. Now, a company can be incorporated with shares or by guarantee. So when you have shares, then you have shareholders. When it's by guarantee, you have members. But sometimes you see people use the words interchangeably. So where a company is limited, the liability of the members to contribute towards the payment of debt is limited to their investment. So if you invest in a company and you invest $5,000, your liability is limited to that $5,000. If it's by guarantee, then what you do is you sign an undertaking that if the company is wound up, this is the amount that I'm prepared to give the company to pay off its expenses. So it's by shares or it's by guarantee. So companies have members and not shareholders, like I say, and companies limited by guarantee have no share capital. They are private companies and not public companies. Normally, when you have companies that are by guarantee, they are NGOs or an association, or like how BIFS is, And then for educational purposes, they are by guarantee. The membership in a company by guarantee can fluctuate. So if you're looking at BIFs, the membership changes with the banks that are licensed by the central bank. So they come and they go. If a bank is wound up, then they're no longer a member. Then a new bank will have, the banks are the members of this organization. But this will be, for under the central bank, it will be banks, trust companies, money service businesses, credit unions. They are members. So it is based on the purpose of the institution.
Whatever member wants to leave, they have to pay their guarantee before they.
No. Mhm. The only way that happens is if at the time, the company itself is winding up
Okay.
and the present members are unable to pay, they go to the ones who were here before. So you can have a hybrid company, and a hybrid company can have part shares and part guarantee. A guarantee means that you don't put up funds upfront. You're not buying shares. You sign a document that says, if and when this company is wound up, which means it goes into liquidation, I am prepared to contribute $5,000 or $10,000, $50,000.
And that would be if there are debts that need to be paid.
So what if, let's say the company is being wound up, guarantee that you sign, let's say everybody sign, isn't enough to close out the company. What happens is the rest of the. So it just would be.
It depends on who the creditors are. Because if creditors depend, they can actually go to court and try to make a claim to them personally. So it depends on the circumstances. Because if they as members made an agreement for a certain transaction and now they're in liquidation, it's still liable.
Like you say, so with the guarantee, with that type of private share, private company. So they could basically, like you say, they could just say, okay, let's say I'm a probably call it a grantor, we call them member, a member of the, let's say, this is an example. So I could set how much I wanna pay out in the event that, so let's say I say, okay, well, y'all gonna be wound up, I only paying $5,000.
But it's agreed from the beginning.
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
okay.
it's
So
not
then-
done at the time of winding
So
up,
once
it's done
it's
prior to.
agreed, that way you'll know, okay, what the total is, okay, well, that makes sense.
Mhm.
So then you'll know what you're looking at. In the event that somebody.
And I guess that's why most of those are like NGOs.
Yes.
It's like, what you get in, that's the good
Payout.
payout.
That's it. Yeah. What?
Because, okay, if it's not,
Mhm.
why?
Are you saying they're
investors or something?
No.
Building, if you a contract with something, some service to do, or like, you know, they gotta
Like
pay
you said, the
electricity, like, you gotta pay your expenses,
Mhm.
like operating a company, so the company is expenses, no matter what, supplies and what.
Like
So the
take
members have
with
to
the
pay
people.
something? The members pay
Uh-huh.
something too? Oh, okay.
No, they
No.
only pay if they're winding up.
That's for the winding up part. But the other part of the agreement is that they provide students
Or like a
for the
full-
ongoing. That's different. That's operationally.
So they make agreements to say that I will provide X amount of students.
No, they don't put the figure, but they will provide students.
Okay.
That's why I know when I called, because I was wondering the prices with my company, they wanted to know, okay, well, why is this? I said non-member, because we aren't a member. So when she broke it down to me, she said, look, if we were a member, my company was a member, I would not pay that non-member fee. Which, and she said that if we become a member of a company, how much it will be per year,
Mhm.
which would enable anybody from my company to take any
Exa-
classes.
Right.
So that's an example. But because they didn't pay that, I have to pay a fee. But if they become a member, I say it, and anybody else in my company.
And then
that
by
take
being a
classes.
member, your company, they have a representative on the board. Make decision on courses and the budget and all of that.
Which, and I hope you do become a member. Oh.
So the other type of company is the public company that we spoke about already, that's on the stock exchange. And you could go to that company's website and you could pull down their annual report. And you could read about their performance, what they did, what they're about to do, how many staff they have. All of that is on there.
Is this the instance where they would say that I'm going public, like when the company, what does that mean? When the company says that we're going
It
public?
means that they were a private company and now they're going to put their shares on the market.
Okay.
So that's normally called an IPO. And then you have what we call statutory companies. And these are companies that are created by legislation. So you could have a segregated account company, or you could have a limited duration company. And a segregated account company is where you have funds. You hear them talk a lot about mutual funds. So what they do is they incorporate a company and then they have it registered as a segregated account company. And what that means is that the funds in those accounts are separate from other funds. So if someone wanted to come and sue the company for and use the assets in that company, a segregated account means that you cannot go against the companies that are in that SAC. It's a and the other one is a limited duration company, and that's where you incorporate the company just for a particular period.
What type of company is that?
Any company, any business company,
So like if I need to do a
a
special
transaction,
project with the government, for example. then
and it's for
they-
5 years. So in 5 years, it'll be in the articles. In 5 years, you wind it up. Limited duration. Now, remember I said at the beginning, a company can be incorporated under the Companies Act or under the IBC Act. And the company. And flexible means that you could use it for commercial business, wealth preservation. You could use it for corporate transactions. You could use it the whole property. You can use it for insurance. Any feature you could think of.
So what's the difference between the companies that
Ask her if she's in now.
I'm in now, thank you. Ms. Archer?
Okay,
She can
so
sing
what
it.
is a trust company? Tell me.
Because you work within a group structure that has trust.
We do, but to be honest, our trust company is a little bit separated from commercial retail banking.
No, it's not separated.
Yes.
It is a subsidiary.
It is, but when I say separated, like we really don't know what's been going on in that department,
No, you shouldn't. Not department,
in that
institution.
institution, yes. So it's literally like it's a different company on the whole.
It is, it is.
And okay, I know it is, but I mean it like.
What do they
The only
do?
time we hear about stuff is when we're doing like an annual award ceremony or something, and they announce that certain games for trust that will happen during the year. We don't really hear anything else about it.
No, because they sell confidentiality. No, it's no yeah, no but. That is what they do. So what is trust? That's what you want to know. What is this
No,
trust?
like, when they say trust company, it just sounds.
It means that a trust company manages money or assets on behalf of other persons.
Yeah, well, I know that, but I just, when they use the term trust company.
It means that they are
just-
licensed.
It just sounded like it's a product that they're selling. or
The trust
something,
is
and
the
not so
product they're
much-
selling.
And
Yeah.
not so much, not so much to the actual business.
What you mean? Explain.
It just seems like it's a product, not so much like, okay, this is trust. Usually when we talk, we just say, okay, this is trust, and not so much trust company. So when they say trust company, it's like they sell a particular product to the customers of trust. That's just how it sounded to me.
Yeah, that's what they're doing. They're selling a structure. So you come and you say, AB Trust Company, I establish a trust, but I have assets. And these assets I'm going to transfer to the trustee. The trustee now has to structure these assets. And so they're going to incorporate companies to hold these assets. So some of these are just holding companies, and some of these are operational companies that are making money on behalf of the trust.
Now be the IBCs.
Some could be IBCs. This one may be a CAC. Because it's an operational company. Because underneath this could be like a food store, a clothing store, a chain of stores around the world. And so the trustees have to manage all of this on behalf of this trust.
And that's where the beneficiary is watching. all the
Yes.
money. They will make sure we get the profit too.
So that's why this trust too is all about learning about companies. It's the structure. Now, in here, in one of these companies, you could decide that you want on your board a director. And that director doesn't have to be human. That director can be another company. An executive entity. So you'll have a company name as a director on one of these. You're not hiding anything, you're structuring it.
Where does a PTC fall?
A private trust company is so it doesn't fall under a trust company. The family manages the assets themselves.
You mean like the beneficiaries? Who managing the, who managing the assets?
The family.
For the PTC?
Mhm.
You mean the seller?
Mhm.
They can appoint someone on their behalf.
Yeah,
So
they appoint different people, but they manage this
So are
rather
they
than going to an
trustees?
actual trust company.
Are they then?
A trustee is appointed.
So the PTC then becomes trustee
Yes.
of the trust.
Uh-huh.
Oh, okay. And then
But it's all family business.
Right, okay,
So this,
so that structure wouldn't have a
Replace.
CAC company?
they could, depends on the business.
Okay.
This replace
Oh,
that.
Okay, okay. Okay.
PTCs replace restricted trusts.
You used to have trust companies that would be managing a trust on behalf of the Lowe family,
Okay.
on behalf of the Brown family. But it's restricted because they're not interacting with other people,
Just themselves.
just themselves.
So
So
that's why the wealth stays within that.
they manage it themselves.
and with
They
all
know
that
what they want.
business.
They know what they're doing. So they could be in here, they could be lending money to family members, they could be building house for family members.
So they still the beneficiaries.
Yes,
But how is
they're
that
managing their own money,
who are the founders? Okay.
but it's their money.
And just keep going around.
Mhm.
So what's the purpose of the private trust?
They keep it all.
They keep it within the family.
They don't have to
Wealth
send it.
management.
So
It's
they-
wealth management.
In the company, is the trust itself then, it wouldn't be it for individually their own?
No trust is no individual wealth.
So it just stays for the family.
Mhm.
If you wanted to get something, let's just say.
It depends on how this trust is structured.
so
Whoever's the person who established the trust at the very beginning, they set out the ground rules.
So it may just be that I just want, or I don't want my properties to be sold. I want it to pass down generation to
Stay
generation.
right.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. That's how it's
So if
done.
someone.
But you never really own anything.
It just.
But you have
continue
access to
go into
funds
the And the children.
based on a certain limit.
We get this, or
Mhm.
get that.
And you have access to the funds for a particular reason. You
Reason.
just can't say, I want my.
Maybe,
car,
right,
estate,
education, build a house,
medical
move it to another
resources.
jurisdiction, medical. Depends on how it is, and they set up where you get 10,000 a month for your living expenses, that's it. You're not getting no more, because you're not the only person.
But then too, with a PTC, they don't have to go through, let's say,
They don't have to wait for the
Appeal
trustee to make the
for-
decision and all that deliberation and
And they don't have to
pay all of those fees and all of that.
Okay. so that
They're
would be
managing
nice.
it themselves.
Okay. So then the settler and the PTC, he would appoint which member, let's say, per se, the beneficiary, for example, since it already found, would act as a trustee. He would say who he appoints to be the trustee of the
Mhm.
trust. But it'll be a family member.
Mhm. Well, he could get someone independent.
So with the PTC, they still have protectors and stuff too.
Mhm.
So
What's the
they're
purpose of the
registered as-
protector? Yes,
So
give
the
advice.
director of the-
Yeah.
Director of the PTC would still have
So
to
then it's still
Hmm?
family, would a trust company still be? I mean, a private trust, yeah, like would they? Would they be paying fees and stuff, or they just have to register that this is a trust and they manage it on their own?
No, they have to pay fees,
But not as much.
not as much.
Okay.
And they don't come under.
They come under the
all of the
central branch.
regulations.
Yeah, they don't have a lot of regulations.
Because it's private.
Mhm.
Makes sense.
Yeah, and the PTC is responsible for keeping all the KYC. They do the due diligence.
But do they send us out now, let's say? Okay, so with the PTC, no trust really can know what. What I trying to say is, you know, you could, when you're in your key KYC, you see if, this person is involved in fraudulent business.
Mhm.
You wouldn't have that access to that.
Wait,
Because that's-
who?
Nobody would know what they're doing, right? Because it's private and also,
No, but the PTC knows.
then the PTC still is family.
Yeah, but they still have.
But you
what-
still have to keep documentation,
documentation.
passports and all of that stuff.
You still have to do it.
On the individuals.
And they would have, still have a lawyer overseeing all of that too, right?
Of course, you need a lawyer for everything. All right, so incorporation is a simple process. Here, like other jurisdictions similar to ours, but everything is done electronically. If you read the paper recently last week, you'd see where the government says that they're now going to be following the Cayman registration for incorporation, make things easier. Yeah, so, because I know that the one they have now, the person's complained that it really didn't work. They bought it, but it doesn't work. No. So you all know, once you file your memo arts and you have your certificate of registration, then of course, the company is in legal existence. It can operate, not before. You must have that certificate of incorporation. So just same way as you would do CAC, for an IBC, you have to reserve the name first. And normally you would send 3 names. The financial corporate service provider, and then the client has to decide if you're going to be their registered agent and where the financial corporate service provider will be their registered office. You don't have to do registered agent and registered office. Yes, no. So the registered office is where you will be served. Any legal matters is served at your registered office. Most IBCs, their registered office is the financial corporate service provider. Registered agent is where the financial corporate service provider would provide all of the services for your filings.
Registered office is also what, that's your address.
That's your
That's the
address.
corporate address of the company,
Mhm.
right?
So under the IBC Act, your name can be in English, it can be in Mandarin, it could be in any language. You could put characters if you want to, you could put script, you could put symbols. It doesn't matter. And that's what makes it even more flexible. Reservation is normally for 28 days, and it can be extended for another 14 days. And of course, you have to pay the fees. So I guess with this new system, I hope it goes cheaper.
Really gotta
I
make
have
it
to
more
pay for the
expensive
system,
to
so-
exactly to pay for stuff.
No, but you have to remain competitive. So if you lower it, you get more volume.
That's true.
And then I put the fees there, so you know those fees will change. Huh?
Is this thing every 28 days you have to pay a fee before you incorporate it?
Once it expires, you have to
If
pay.
you don't complete your process. the
Yeah,
incorporation
you'll have to pay
process.
again.
Okay.
So the turnaround time is normally 24 hours. Some people say sometimes it's 48 hours, depends if the system up or down.
Before any reservation?
No, IBC, the
No
incorporated.
way, that ain't no faster than 3 days unless you do the express incorporation. You
Yeah.
Get it in 24.
Yeah, but express mean you gotta pay.
Yeah. $400 extra. Oh,
Yeah, to get it in a day,
so-
you have to pay.
So what's the big amount, like if you're applying for operation, why, I mean, you gotta wait 2 days.
No, it depends. Okay, I know of a client, he had to make a purchase. So let's just say
Yeah.
someone is selling a car, an expensive car, Rolls Royce. And they say, I've been trying to sell this for a couple months. And he said, my flight is on Thursday. Do you want to buy the car? And the person said, yes, but I don't want it in my name. I want it in the company's name. So they're gonna go to their FCSP and say, I need a company incorporated because I have to buy a car. And the owner of the car is leaving this country on Thursday and I have to get it done by tomorrow. That company has to be incorporated within an hour to 2 hours. You gotta make it happen or you lose the business.
Or the time sensitive investment, they want to be a closing of some investment opportunity.
Mhm.
They need to get it.
Yeah. And that happens a lot in that circle.
The world of.
Yes.
I think it's always.
Because they gotta have an express option for almost everything now.
Yeah, passport, anything, it's express.
I think it's just important from the agent side to not be pressured into, because they have the money and they want to express to not be a due diligence in the
Yeah.
background before you take them on.
Mhm.
Right?
Yeah, but that's express.
Before we move on, I just wanted to know about holding companies.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't really understand what's the point of holding companies. I know that when a holding company, the same as if you have when the lawyers have a client, and how does somebody?
That's escrow.
Okay.
That's escrow.
So
Holding just means that the company, the purpose of the company is really where you are, the assets of that company is property. So that's why it's called a holding, because it's holding the properties.
Well, that company-
Just like how she did the thing for Press versus Petrodel. And she said, these are the companies, and under this company, it had 7 properties. You call that a holding company. Because the assets in that are properties
So it's
and
tangible
investment.
asset. Tangible
Mhm.
stuff. Would that company also be responsible for maintaining, like, I guess that's why you would do the company, so that you could maintain everything in that one.
So that's like
Structure.
having a boat, a condo, let's say, a plane.
Mhm.
You have that.
And you put them all under one company. The company is now a holding company.
So
It's
you
holding the assets.
you don't have access to them if it's a loss. But the trust then will make sure that they still being maintained.
Fees are being paid, all of that.
Yeah, that's it.
So that would make sense then, like, one who
like I'm now going on my work stuff, like a lot of stuff starting to make more sense. And it's like we have a private trust, they have like 5 companies. One is it's literally the name of their trust, real estate, like their trust estate, so everything in that company is to do with the home. And they have like NIB for that because they use that company to pay the staff, to pay all the bills for maintenance. And then they have another investment company that after they do all of the investments, they put money back into the trust.
Right.
Okay, that makes
Mhm.
sense. It makes so much sense.
Because they break it up.
Yeah.
Each entity up.
Like how I said to you earlier, if you're in a pure business or commercial area, you incorporate a company for each business.
Right.
So you know that this one is my clothing line, this one is my shoe line, this one is my agricultural line, and then under agriculture, if you have farms in different jurisdiction, you could say Bahamas, Haiti, like that. You separate it.
I suppose that makes it harder but easier at the same time.
Easy at the end when you want to do accounting and you're
Right.
looking at profitability.
Yeah.
And then, of course, then you have to look at taxation. So the company itself that's holding assets is where you have to determine which jurisdiction you're going to incorporate in.
So do you get charged more for that?
What, who's you?
Let's say, okay, you know, like we discussed last session where you would pay a certain amount annually to the trust company, well, the company that is running that is operating. Like, okay,
You mean the financial corporate service provider who
yes,
incorporates your
yes.
company? The
You
only
pay
thing you're
more
paying them for is for registered agent and registered office services.
Okay, so you know.
If there is a legal matter, then that's the lawyer.
Okay.
If there is structurally a taxation issue, then you need a tax attorney. And if you want to make changes to your trust or create another trust, then you need a trust attorney.
There's no extra for these.
And unless you have an actual trust company like this that has subsidiaries in all these areas. But in the Bahamas, everybody has niches. There's a niche for everything. So everybody partners.
So the holding company, they would create a holding account and the funds from this tangible items would go into this account. And that account would then be used to maintain the tangible items.
It depends if they are investments. Then the trustees will make a decision as to how much of that goes into the trust to be sent to the beneficiaries. So PC, like a CAC, has a memorandum of association, and that memorandum contains the name of the company, the location of the registered office, the location of the registered agent, the statement of objects, which means the purpose for which the company is being established, what is the capital and the number of shares, and of course the currency. Now, before time, they have what they call the ultra-vires doctrine, but that doesn't apply anymore. So that's why it just says any business that is not prohibited by law in the Bahamas. So that means once you incorporate a company, it's open to do any business as long as it is legal in the Bahamas.
And that, I guess, is another something that is more, it's attractive to do IBCs here.
Yes. So you can amend your memo and arts by a shareholders or directors resolution, and it all depends on what's in the articles of association. The articles of association drive how the company is operated from a corporate governance perspective. And of course, you know, in the Bahamas, bearer shares are prohibited.
Bearer shares are Acts, but it's not on or registered anywhere. I just have a certificate in my hand to say that I own a share, right? Is that what a bear share is?
Yeah, there's no name in
Oh, you
So
get there, Shell.
That's why you don't know what, because I could take it, like, across your name off and put mine on it.
it. No, there's no name. No name.
If you find it, I lost my own.
Then I could just take it.
You can put, yeah, you can put your name in it.
Is that where that saying, I don't know if it's a real thing or not, but I always say is possession is not against the law, is that what I call
No, that's stealing.
it?
That's
I
stealing.
got it in my hand, so I can't, it must harm me.
That's stealing. But that's why it's so easy when you have an IBC now, and like I was saying earlier with the example, if I wanted to sell that, my company to you, there is no confusion
Right,
or delay. It's just automatic.
because
You have that right.
You actually have, you can actually verify.
Yeah,
You have
you just
that.
provide your KYC and that's it.
Hmm.
And you have the resolution to say I transferred of my shares to her and that's it. But before with the bearer share, the problem was you don't know who owns the company. So
But I
on,
said it's talking about the breach in the company that's on it. Did you talking about earlier?
no,
No.
no. No, bearer shares means that today, I know when I incorporated the company, you were the shareholder.
Hmm.
And then I hear company ABC has been charged with money laundering, but it's, you no longer own it. You sold it to Leah.
So now she-
Leah sold it to someone else, and someone else sold it to someone else.
And
So you
somebody
can't
grab
really
me,
trace it.
somebody grab me, keep passing it down, after another from baby boy, and give it to
Somebody else, just hold this. But someone is out there transacting in the name of that company.
Based on the acts, talking about registers and certificates, if you have a resolution that says that I sold my shares, an acceptance, but there's no share certificate produced, is it still considered a complete transaction, or does a share certificate and a register?
It goes back to the articles, and most articles speak to, for the transfer, you need a certificate.
Okay,
Even though now they do electronic certificates, but it's still a certificate.
right,
So like company, there's no like minimum authorized capital required for IBCs. Although you see most IBCs will say they start off with a capital of 5,000 or 10,000. And of course, they get divided into different shares and different classes of shares.
Class A, class B, class.
Whatever, as many as they want.
So with the different classes, who makes that? Like it's.
The shareholders decide that.
Oh,
And of course, you can start off with your capital of 10,000, 20,000. Some people have capital of 1 million, 10 million, and you could reduce that capital. Again, the articles will stipulate how to reduce.
and just to make sure I understand capital, yeah, it doesn't necessarily have to be paid in, but in the event that there's liabilities against the company, whatever you haven't paid in is what they can go after you for, if you haven't paid in all your money.
They go by what you paid first.
Okay,
And then after, it depends on what the claim is.
okay.
It
So like
makes a
if I have,
difference.
if I say that the company has a $10 million capital, but I never really actually put $10 million into the bank account of the company, then if something happens and the company is sued and they say, yeah, okay, we can go after that, through the share capital, the most they can do is go after the 10 million, I haven't paid it.
They'll go after you personally.
Cause I just always wonder about the having capital left, talking about having share capital in there wasn't, if there's not really a transaction to anything paid into the company per se.
What do you mean, no transaction to be paid in?
Like, if you just, you have a company that says, that say you have 5,000 shares, that's
Mhm.
worth $5,000, and then you have a bank account, like, the only assets you have is a bank account, the bank account, like, only have $2,000 on it. Like, you only put $2,000 on a bank account instead of the 5,000, something like that.
Yeah, but the bank account would only have have the amount of that you paid for the shares.
Which would mean you still owe $3,000.
It depends on whether or not you have, see, you have issue shares and you have unissued shares.
Okay.
And
Okay,
that's the name of, in the name, the account is in the name of the company itself.
right,
And then you could have shareholders who pledge to purchase more shares in the future.
okay.
So again, it depends on how it's structured.
Everything goes back to the M&As and
Yes,
agreements
and how it's structured.
Okay.
And what's in the shareholders agreement. Yeah. So an IBC only needs one shareholder. I told you that before. They could be of any nationality, any residency. Of course, you know, we would avoid residency that are on the sanctions list. Members can meet at any time over the phone, in person, by proxy. They again would follow what's in the Articles of Association in terms of meetings and how it is to be convened. An IBC is only required to have one director. So in most instances, the shareholder, the director, the secretary, they're all one person. That person doesn't have to be, that director doesn't have to be resident here in the Bahamas. Again, the number of directors in the company is stated in the Articles of Association. So in the memorandum, that's where they elect the first directors of the company. So once the company is incorporated, based on the memo and acts, then the actual shareholders should have a meeting to elect their own directors. So normally the subscribers is either members of the financial corporate service provider or members of the law firm. A director must be given not less than 2 days notice of meetings, and that isn't necessary if they're all one and the same. The quorum for meetings is also set out in the Articles of Association. And then, like I said, they could attend a meeting in person or by phone, any other electronic means. So directors have all the powers of the company that are not reserved to the members. Again, the articles will stipulate what powers the directors have. In terms of shareholders, you will see it in the unanimous shareholders agreement, what powers the shareholders have. The directors, by resolution, can fix their payments, their benefits for the services that they are rendering to the company. And of course, again, that's subject to the Articles of Association and the shareholders agreement. If it's not in the shareholders agreement, then the directors or the chairman of the board has to liaise with the shareholders to see if they agree to the figure for the payments. And as a director, they are required to always act in good faith and to be honest. So a unanimous shareholders agreement is where all of the shareholders state their powers, they state their duties, and it should also contain when they are in dispute. What should they do? When a unanimous shareholder agreement is executed or terminated, of course, they have to give a written notice. And they have to give the date, and that has to be filed with the registrar. Now, the key, like I was saying from the beginning of class, to all of this IBC is confidentiality. You would see in the Banks and Trust Companies Regulations Act, Section 77, where the legislators have changed the wording from the duty of confidentiality to the preservation of confidentiality. Because remember, the G10 countries are trying to get rid of confidentiality. So we're no longer speaking from the common law perspective of that duty of confidentiality in finance. We now speak about the preservation of confidentiality because that's the bedrock of what we do here in the Bahamas, confidentiality.
I think then everybody will be proud
What?
of the business if it isn't confident.
Yes.
Again,
One of our major, it's the second,
Finance is the second, and yeah, but in terms of reputation wide, finance, we're number one. That's what we stand on.
Everybody's coming.
Yes.
So if that happens, we got a problem.
And they feel comfortable in coming and incorporating companies here because of that confidentiality. So it's not a lot of poor persons. We're talking about the very, very wealthy people. So again, one of the key feature of that confidentiality is, like I said before, is that limit. And then when you do file, there are nominee names on those registers. So you don't know who they are. The only way you know who's the ultimate beneficial owners of companies is when names are registered in the BOSS system.
What about with Sesro? Because with Sesro, you put in their name, but it's
Yeah, that's the directors, but not the, no, not the shareholders. The shareholders go in BOSS.
Right.
And then remember now it's only what 3 persons who have access to that system.
And by request.
Is by request, yeah. But I mean on a normal basis, when you put it in, no one has access to that. So it's only the name of the company is registered office and that office registered agent, their address, and the memo on arts. That's all that's filed. So you really don't know who owns the company. You don't know where they do business.
So are they still getting taxes? By doing so?
Well, that's a personal question. How would I know that they're evading taxes? How? They're operating other places in the world. The only way I would know that is if someone in some jurisdiction is monitoring that company and they see something strange is going on. You wouldn't know.
Also, always a big question, because it's like, okay, we do all these forms and stuff, if you're in US edition and all these things, if they put these things in trust, how, and like how you said just now, you don't go through some.
No, you don't.
That they still pay taxes.
But how to get your concern?
Moral.
No,
moral.
right, because that, okay, to my understanding, thing is that the entity is still supposed to report that this is a US person, because it's a concern that they are evading taxes, because they shouldn't be, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if they don't hear.
But you see, that's why under CESRA and CRS, the jurisdiction have placed that onus on the individuals. They have a duty to pay their taxes. And all they're asking each country is, if you have an entity that meets the, what they call it, the predominant features in the CRS legislation, which means that they are reportable based on the threshold records, then you report them. They do the investigations after. To see if that person is paying. So if you don't meet that threshold, you're not reportable. So again, if you structure it, you may not be reportable, even though somewhere around. And someone say, I know this, I know that. Yeah.
Yeah, where it come
Yeah.
from. And now when you transfer funds out, you have to put it, so when you guys
Mhm.
always come back to them.
Yeah,
Because you're not-
yeah.
sending
If you-
the taxes,
You would-
you
Everything.
right, you have your tax return, your tax
Yeah, that's what
Mhm.
we're doing.
So by law, an IBC must have a registered or resident agent and registers. And the FCSP will have all of those.
We use,
Now, you said they don't have to have a seal anymore, right?
No,
this, no, they have to start to be on the exam, a section of that. So-
no,
That's surprising.
no,
Well, they did, so, I mean, just say-
no, not actually for no section. This is not like when you did trust law. No. This is a company law, and behind how it is used in trust. Because other than that, then that legislation is big as this,
I know.
and the IBC is big as that.
We get in the next book when we pass this first test.
Uh-huh,
What a time.
yeah.
Y'all did not read to the boxes. You guys told me go to another 10.
The IBC has to maintain copies of the memo and arts, the register of directors and officers, the share register. The register of directors and officers has to be filed. And then the last part here is just talking about the additional features of the IBC. They're exempt from stamp duty. The ease of merger and consolidation. They can continue in other jurisdictions. Hold securities in Bahamian companies. Dividends can be paid in money or in shares or other property. A foreign company may provisionally register with the registrar of companies to become or continue as an IC from another jurisdiction. You can transfer to another jurisdiction. And exempted from exchange control, but you have to convene. Of course, you could use any of these words after your IBC, Limited, Inc., or see that Anonymous Incorporated Corporation. So it's a really, really flexible tool. Society Anonymous. Yeah, you could abbreviate it or spell it out. So I gave you all some homework. You can email me. Similar question will be on the final exam. So it's good practice.
No, the midterm and stuff.
Well, you call it middle, but there's a final for this section, and then there's another final for the next section.
So
There's not a assigned one to hold it.
How come it's two? But it's broken up into three. Like, shouldn't this be three stages?
No, it's just two,
Does this,
because we put all of this into one. It'll be too much.
does.
But I
this
feel
thing-
like each of these sections equivalent to the first stage, so why not make it a three?
No doubt. Does this section, is this also considered a part of the company law
Mhm.
group? So when I do this, I don't have to do the first company law stuff?
Mhm.
Hallelujah. That's a prerequisite. This test is the first half of company law, right?
Mhm.
Right, so once you do this, then we can just go to company law too.
But
Oh, why
for
thought it was
those-
only two stages? What company law thing?
It's something
A
different.
different co-op, a different co-op, but they overlap.
They overlap.
Stop the trust.
Um,
This is our prerequisite, the staff.
But I mean, you can still come in on the link.
Which name? Company law. So
No, when we do company law one, let's just say she,
Just kind of like a review.
Of
kind
a
of,
review.
okay.
mhm.
Then I
Because we
go-
talk about there are other sections
Hmm,
that are not included in here. Because we talk about promoters,
okay.
liability on contracts and things like that.
Yeah, I come with everything I get.
so what is the next company law thing associated with costs?
It's pure company law. It's actually going through the legislation. It starts in 15 minutes.
Oh, so you taking that too?
No, not that, not no.
After this,
Then I
then
go and have to go.
All right?
and
Who? No, AIBT. AIBT. Association of International Banks and Trusts. AIBT.
step is international.
Mhm.
Get it all.
Everything I could get.
Because with that.
Yeah, as long as the school is offering it, take it.
Why some people doing it online?
What?
Step. They didn't go to the AIDT. Like this lady, she was telling me she registered online. She started the step program.
Is the company paying for it? Oh, that's why.
Out of pocket.
It's probably that's why. If not, she'd have gone through AIBT.
Oh, would have been cheaper.
Yeah, because don't forget, that's another membership.
So this trust 1 and 2 we're doing now is only recognized in the Bahamas.
No, I think you get exemptions in STEP.
Yeah, that's why I was just
Mhm.
make sure we get the second one.
Stage 1 and 2 exempts you from the STEP Foundation. So
She telling you.
what BIFs
Hold on,
gives-
Say it a little louder, say it a little louder.
what BIFs gives us, once we get the certificate from BIFs, we wouldn't have to take STEP Foundation STEP Foundation. So this is the equivalent to STEP Foundation. So we already passed. If you want to take STEP, we already passed one course. I think it's like 3 or 4 that we have to take. Right. So this one,
But I mean, so let me clarify my question. I think I was asking is, it's only recognized to get a job in the Bahamian trust, the trust companies we have here.
What do you mean this?
Yeah, the stage 1 and 2.
Like,
Like, say,
Right
we
now?
move away, if we move away to the country or something.
New York STEP.
Okay.
This is just introductory. It's just like if you wanted to do AML certification. Here we have an introductory and an intermediate course. It prepares you to do this international certification.
Ms. Archer, with the trust, with this course that
Yes.
we're taking, what all job positions can we get with this? I know one is the trust administrator. but-
Alicia, what happened?
Huh?
Oh, you breaking up.
Okay,
Hold on,
with-
you still breaking up.
I have a question while she.
with what we
Hold
are
on,
taking
let's see if
now,
she coming in.
right?
Internet connection is unstable. Go ahead.
What we are taking now, right? What positions in a trust company are we able to apply for? Is it just the trust?
Try again, talk.
Tell me,
Yes,
I'm
send,
ready.
put her on, put her, call her.
Okay,
Hold on.
okay,
You're gonna get a call in a few seconds.
okay.
And then you can tell us your question.
So everyone in here is everybody.
No.
Mm-mm.
Oh, no, I'm not sure.
I work on
It's surprising.
Hey, Alicia, on speaker, go ahead.
My question is, the best taking trust, this trust course, if you're just trust, like, or with this course,
Mhm. Yeah. Because don't, yeah, because that's the entry level, and no, heavily regulated, dealing with people's money.
okay, okay.
No, but I'm confused. So what about the other departments like compliance and all of that?
You need compliance certification.
Compliance,
Yeah. That's what I was just telling you.
That's totally different, because that's how I'm in this, because I originally went to the company where I have to be like a personal assistant for the bank. And then they came up, they need to move someone from the trust and covered as an administrator.
was like, and they're like, yeah, you can start, but you gotta get. The central bank is not gonna.
Yeah.
And sure enough, they asked them, we need to understand why you're working there, because she doesn't know.
Have the qualifications.
And I'm a junior tax administrator, so all of this is. I mean, there's a lot of things come across my table, though it just piling and doing certain things now, at least now I understand them. What you see and
Yeah.
and what they mean now. And then it's crazy because the lady who she just came and she seen me trust, but she came from banking, but she has no clue. So it's kind of weird that she don't even want to learn, but I get no information.
Yeah, don't worry about that. Don't worry about that.
But that's just it.
But
So that means they're not reporting accurately, because why would you bring somebody in with?
when they get inspected,
When they get inspected, they'll know.
And that's why I always
say it's all about, this is between these great people in.
Yeah, but don't forget when examiners come, they'll know.
Then what?
What do you
You
mean?
probably open to any position,
Yeah.
Like a junior plus officer?
Mm-hmm.
But I just trying to focus on what I do now.
Yeah.
There's a lot. Yeah. Trying to take it.
So my final question,
Go ahead.
on behalf of the class, I'm speaking.
Oh, really?
I know. I can Sasha, you think you can like just tailor our homework assignments for Saturdays to bring in on Thursdays or another Saturday, because that window between Thursday and Saturday, that ain't working.
that was wrong.
That-
Lord. I for sure.
Oh, you mean, oh, no, only because we have those cases.
Okay.
That's it.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, I do that a lot.
yeah.
I was like.
Because, right, but if I given you cases, if I was telling you cases was going to be, if I give it you today for next week, Thursday, it'd be too far behind. Yeah, we're going on 3 now. No
Okay.
cases in 3.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
This isn't trust law,
okay,
where there's cases in every chapter. No,
okay.
no.
Okay, so are you saying that this one may be easier?
It is?
It's easier than that one?
Uh-huh. Because part 1 was pure law, you remember?
Ah, right,
You went through the whole act.
I'll
This
be
is not
sure to
like
let
that.
you know.
Like, mommy, I just supposed to be studying. That's like, my mom.
Okay, Alicia, see you on Thursday.
All right, have a good one. Thank you.
She's saying something. Yeah. What'd you say, Alicia?
Have a good weekend and a good week next week.
Okay, all right.
Okay.
Okay, all right. Okay.
She was so dry. He just wanted to try to get us.
I think we got this.
Yeah, but.